gets the players that he wants, if he's given the power that he wants. And don't forget, at Manchester United, I think he did really well, and he wasn't given the power. It's more player power, and he wasn't happy with that. If Florentino Perez realises that actually I made a mistake with Xabi Alonso, I should have given him a little bit more power, or no, he wasn't right, but the next man I want to give proper power, then he has to be able to do that and now just step away. And Jose Mourinho, what an amazing story it is, him back at Madrid.
Will it be Mourinho versus Mbappe, though?
And Vinicius Junior.
Vinicius Junior as well.
We'll see. We shall see after the debacle, of course, when Mourinho was in charge of Benfica not too long ago. He certainly does have to mend some relationships, but he will be heading to the Bernabeu Stadium. Jose Mourinho, the new Real Madrid manager, on a 3-year deal. Now, for all of you England fans who are getting ready to cheer on the Three Lions this summer, we've just released a fresh batch of tickets for our World Cup fan zone in Birmingham. Only £15 all in. You can join over 2,500 fans at the region's largest fan zone event to watch the action on the UK's biggest screen. We're bringing you the ultimate match day vibe. We've got the TalkSport Battle Bust, appearances from the one and only Gabby Agbonlahor, of course, and other presenters, massive DJ sets, including from the Happy Mondays one and only Bears. You can head to talksport.com fan zone right now for all the details.
World Cup Game Day live on TalkSport. Brought to you by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Here for it. Book now at enterprise.co.uk.
It's the biggest football tournament ever this summer, and the Sun are World Cup for it. Are you? Are you up for following midnight kickoffs during midnight feeds? And in-depth analysis wherever you are. Are you up for expert takes that you can pass off as your own? Mate, your knowledge of Curaçao's midfield is unsurpassed. Are you up for the biggest World Cup ever, all in one place? Get the Sun app for the latest updates, reports and analysis round the clock. The Sun, we're World Cup for it.
McDonald's are making their appearance at the FIFA World Cup. They've got a formidable lineup for the FIFA World Cup meal. But who will you pick to lead the line? Big Mac or Chicken McNuggets? Alongside them, Beckham, Henry, Ronaldinho all make their debuts on legendary player cups. The stage is set. Score one of 6 legendary cups with the FIFA World Cup meal. Match ready for adults. Only at McDonald's.
Until the 13th of July from 11 a.m. Meal includes carbonated drink, side and one collectible allocated randomly. While stocks last. Drink upgrade fees apply.
Welcome to the Money Supermarket Training Academy, where we put our new recruits through their paces, training them to be their very best at saving the nation money, turning them into deal-finding hotshots, and teaching them how to come up with fantastic rewards for our customers.
Is this the
Money Supermarket Training Academy? Absolutely. Come in!
Money Supermarket, where better off begins. Download the app today. Rewards include prepaid MasterCard, qualifying purchase with logged-in account, 18 plus UK only. See site for T's and C's.
Somewhere, overlooking the Med, there's a bar with no sign out front. The kind of place where you could all sit for hours, watch the sea on the horizon and football on the telly. This summer, find the beautiful game in beautiful places with O2, the only major network that lets everyone roam freely in the EU up to 25 gig. O2, essential for living.
Bolt-on required if limit exceeded. Terms apply. See odoo.co.uk/terms.
When you're facing a serious snack dilemma, Tesco Whoosh has you covered.
Dave, we're out of peanuts.
We hear you, footy fan. Your Whoosh driver is already on it, delivering anything you need from Tesco from as little as 20 minutes. Because no team player can support from the sofa without nibbly bits. Tesco Whoosh, for when you seriously need groceries fast. Fees apply. Delivery times range from 20 to 60 minutes. Selected areas only. Pricing specific to Whoosh. See tesco.com/whoosh.
Massive news from Bet.
Never ordinary at Bet365. New and eligible customers only. T's and C's and restrictions apply. 18 plus. Please play responsibly. Visit gambleaware.org.
Mate, I love your Tommy Hilfiger shirt. Really brings out your blue eyes. Said no man in history ever. Guys aren't great at complimenting each other, but Giacomo and me, Joe Marler, want to talk about a secret look all men know. The eyebrows go up, the mouth turns upside down, then the head does that subtle nod. It's the nod that says nice. It seems small, but it's huge. Shop nodworthy styles and brands at giacomo.co.uk and choose your way to pay.
World Cup Game Day Live on Talk Sport, brought to you by Burger King Burger Buddies. Try the new Burger King Burger Buddies box, an unbeatable lineup of 3 or 9 iconic snackable burgers. Perfect for any watch-along. Order now on the BK app.
Unrivaled kick-by-kick commentary of every single game across the entire tournament.
World Cup Game Day Live
on Talk Sport.
Going to have an incredible atmosphere in Mexico City a little bit later on. I was going to say tonight. It's only 12:35, just after midday, in the Azteca Stadium. You're listening to World Cup Game Day Live on Talk Sport, brought to you by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever it is, they're here for it. We're going to have over 81,000 largely partisan fans packing into the biggest venue at the tournament to witness the start of the 2026 FIFA World Cup live on Talk Sport. Co-host Mexico taking on South Africa. It's live here from 8 p.m. Remember, we're going to head to Guadalajara overnight as well to see South Korea take on the Czech Republic. That kicks off at 3 a.m. UK time with Adam Bridge and the former England under-21s midfielder Darren Ambrose as your commentary team. Before we move on, let's get a recap of the team news with your match commentator Nigel Adderley.
Thank you, Hugh. And it's a cloudy day at the moment in the Azteca Stadium, which will please both sets of players, although they're already having to deal with the altitude, which won't be so much of an issue for the Mexicans, but may well be for some of the South African players today. The most significant team news for Mexico is in goal. Raul Rangel starts, which means the 40-year-old Guillermo Ochoa doesn't come back into the starting lineup. And for South Africa, Lyle Foster of Burnley will lead their attack. Mexico also have a Premier League number 9 in Raul Jimenez of Fulham. The Mexico team, Rangel in goal, Reyes, Montes, Vasquez and Gallardo the back four. Lera holding in midfield, Alvarado, Gutierrez, Fidalgo and Quinones supporting Jimenez in attack. 3 at the back for South Africa, Williams in goal, Ocon, Sibisi and Umbakazi are the back 3, Mudau and Madiba the wing backs, Mokoena, Sitole and Adams in midfield, with Foster and Reyners in attack.
Okay, we're around just over 20 minutes or so away from kickoff at the Estadio Azteca, so let's take a look at the latest odds with Bet365.
On the ball, on Talk Sport with Bet365. Download the Bet365 app for incredible offers every single match day. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
And I'm delighted to say our good friend from Bet365, Steve Freeth, joins us. Excuse me, how are you, pal?
You, yes, very good evening to you, pal. Yeah, it's a bit different from Notts County Salford the last time I saw you.
Just a little bit. Although still a big stadium, the Azteca looks absolutely resplendent this evening. Mexico taking on South Africa. I mean, being the co-hosts Mexico, they must be overwhelming favourites here.
They are, Hugh. They're favourites to win the group at 8-11. They're 1-12 to qualify out the group. And, of course, if they do win this group, then they can kick on to the quarterfinals by playing at the Azteca, can't they? Yeah. So basically they could have 5 games there, and as you'd expect, all the money has been for them. In fact, we have got our Super Boost today, Hugh, is Mexico just basically to score. So it's 1-7, but with our Super Boost is actually even money, and as you can imagine, that's been incredibly well backed. So yeah, Mexico at home, as you know, they haven't lost a competitive game there since, I don't know, since you were a lad. So you know that's how long ago it was. 2-5 they are, Hugh, to win the game, and South Africa are 15-2. So we're not really giving them a great deal of chance. And me personally, Mexico at 66-1 on the outright. I've just had a little bit of a nibble at that.
Little outside chance for the co-host.
I like it. Yeah, I like it.
Raul Jimenez leading the line. Just moved to Wolves. Found out his manager's being sacked. I wonder if that's going to distract him. What are the goal scorer odds tonight?
Yeah, of course, as an Albion fan, I wasn't chuckling away at what's happening there. But, of course, I can hardly talk the season we had last season. Yeah, Raul Jimenez, 45 goals in 124 appearances for Mexico. Rock solid, isn't he? 7-2 to get the first goal, 5-4 to score at any time, and 17-2 to score a header. Lyle Foster, of course, is on the other side. He struggled with goals at Burnley. He's 9-2 to score at any time. 2 centre-halves, Hugh, that I want to mention to you for Mexico. I think you should keep a look out on these, pal. Johan Vasquez and Cesar Montes, but the 2 centre-halves have been in good goal-scoring form Vasquez is 11-4 for a header on target. Montes is 9-4 for a header on target. I've also put them in a little bet builder, those two, and also Mexico to win, which pays around the 14-1 mark. So, yes, I think I think those two are definitely, two centre-halves to watch. I love a set piece.
Haven't had too many sensational odds there. Are you putting together a bet builder for tonight?
Yeah, it's 14-1. I've gone for those two. Vasquez header on target, Montes a header on target, and Mexico to win the game at 14-1, Hugh. So those are two there. We're also doing player of the match as well. As you'd expect, Raul Jimenez is a favourite to get that award at 11-4. Lyle Foster is at 10-1. Reyners is at 16-1. And I'm pretty sweet on Johan Vasquez. He's 20-1 to win the Player of the Match award. So that's where I'll be going for. Incidentally, Will, Hugh, this game 16 years ago today, wasn't it, when they actually met Mexico and South Africa at the opening of the 2010 World Cup. That was also the birth date of one of my daughters, whose party I've just been to. So that's why I remember that. I did actually miss the birth because I was celebrating Rafa Marquez's equaliser. But of course, that's a joke, by the way. But yes, there you go.
Just very quickly, the outright market.
Yeah, 9-2 France, 9-2 Spain. Very good money for France as we tend to kick off. 7-1 England, Portugal at 15-2. We can't give Brazil away, Hugh. 9-1, the same price as Argentina, but on the drift.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. That's Steve Reith with the latest odds from Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. It's 18+, gambleaware.org.
On the ball, on Talk Sport with Bet365. Making this summer even bigger with our brand new Matchday Reveal. Available every match day. New and eligible customers. T's and C's apply. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Right, let's continue our build-up. And listen, it has been a sensational build-up, even if I do say so myself, to what will be a very exciting tournament. And we're all in love with football, but we know that it hasn't all been a bed of roses in the build-up to this World Cup. Russia and Qatar, the previous two World Cups, were clearly intended to sport wash. There was a lot of negative stories heading into those, and now we arrive in the United States, Canada and Mexico, and many feel that this World Cup should be under similar scrutiny. Firstly, the US has a fairly sketchy human rights record themselves, both at home and abroad. We know what's going on with their Iran military conflict. We've had ICE raids in the US. We've seen the visa situation be incredible. Some fans being asked to pay $15,000 for visas. Others have had them revoked at the last minute, including the Somalian referee Omar Artan. Price gouging for fans, a new ticket system and resale system that's seen FIFA really rake it in. Local transport prices hiked, and the list goes on. The FIFA president Gianni Infantino held a press conference in Mexico yesterday evening. He was asked about ticket prices and whether FIFA had lost control of the tournament. He basically told everyone they just need to chill and relax. Let's speak to Alex Crook, TalkSport's chief football correspondent, who's out in Dallas at the moment. Good evening, Crookie.
Good evening, Hugh. How are we doing?
Doing okay. What do you think the reaction has been to Gianni Infantino's press conference last night?
I don't think anybody is surprised, Hugh. I think we were both in the room in Qatar when he gave that extraordinary monologue ahead of the World Cup 4 years ago, and this was very similar. He spoke for a long time at the start of that press conference. He answered a handful of questions, but as you say, he was almost flippant when he was asked about the situation with the Somalian referee, the ticket prices that you've already mentioned, which are a big concern for a lot of England and Scotland fans that I've met along my travels so far. But we're not surprised by Gianni Infantino. This is not a president and FIFA, not an organisation who care about the fans. They don't care about optics. This is an organisation who gave the president of the USA a made-up peace prize, and then he promptly started bombing another country. So, yeah, I'm not shocked by what Gianni Infantino says or does, but I do think there is a big cloud, as you've already alluded to, hanging over this whole tournament.
We're witnessing the flags coming onto the pitch at the Azteca Stadium of every single nation who will be represented in this World Cup. It's a packed house there, 81,000 fans, but as it stands, about 180,000 tickets remain unsold, which is unthinkable for a World Cup, particularly being held in nations like Mexico, the United States and Canada, great tourist destinations. Have you felt a level of excitement yet building over there in the United States?
I think it's been a slow burner so far. I mentioned it on Drive earlier when we arrived in Dallas yesterday afternoon, yesterday tea time, local time. There wasn't the sort of paraphernalia that would normally greet you at a World Cup airport. There was no sort of 2026 World Cup merchandise. I'm in a bar now actually about to watch Mexico against Canada. There are a handful of fans in to watch the game. There is bunting of the various nations competing decked out all around the veranda. But I think it's going to take a while for this World Cup to really take off and capture the public's imagination, certainly here in the USA and in Canada and Mexico as well. It's not a surprise to me the tickets are unsold, because obviously they've got this pricing strategy where it's based on supply and demand. I think what you're going to see, and actually I would probably encourage fans who've come over and haven't got tickets yet, is to leave it until the last possible moment, because what we learned from the Club World Cup when they did that same pricing structure is that you got more value for your money the nearer you left it to kick off.
Alex Crook, appreciate you joining us from out in Dallas. Of course, our chief football correspondent who's going to be following the World Cup and commentating very closely indeed. You're going to hear a lot of him and good stuff as well. Thank you very much, Alex Crook, as we build up to the opening game of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Kickoff between Mexico and South Africa is next.
World Cup Game Day Live on Talk Sport, brought to you by Burger King Burger Buddies. The new Burger Buddies box from Burger King features a snackable Whopper, Big King and barbecue steakhouse burger. Flame grilled perfection, now made for sharing. Sort of.
Mate, love your Tommy Hilfiger shirt. Really brings out your blue eyes. Said no man in history ever. Guys aren't great at complimenting each other, but Giacomo and me, Joe Marler, want to talk about a secret look all men know. The eyebrows go up, the mouth turns upside down, then the head does that subtle nod. It's the nod that says nice. It seems small, but it's huge. Shop nod-worthy styles and brands at giacomo.co.uk and choose your way to pay.
Somewhere, overlooking the Med, there's a bar with no sign out front. The kind of place where you could all sit for hours, watch the sea on the horizon and football on the telly. This summer, find the beautiful game in beautiful places with O2, the only major network that lets everyone roam freely in the EU up to 25 gig. O2, essential for living.
Bolt-on required if limit exceeded. Terms apply. See o2.co.uk/terms.
It's the biggest football tournament ever this summer, and the Sun are World Cup for it. Are you? Are you up for following midnight kickoffs during midnight feeds? And in-depth analysis wherever you are. Are you up for expert takes that you can pass off as your own? Mate, your knowledge of Curaçao's midfield is unsurpassed. Are you up for the biggest World Cup ever, all in one place? Get the Sun app for the latest updates, reports and analysis round the clock. The Sun, we're World Cup for it.
Never ordinary at Bet365. New and eligible customers only. T's and C's and restrictions apply. 18 plus. Please play responsibly. Visit gambleaware.org.
Here at the Money Supermarket Training Academy, we're training our recruits to save people money on their car insurance. But that's not all. Here comes one now. Let's put them to the test. What do we do for our customers on top of saving them money on their car insurance?
We give them a £15 reward.
And?
When they keep on switching with us, they get more and more rewards.
Very good. Scarily impressive.
Money Supermarket, where better off begins. Download the app today. Rewards include prepaid MasterCard, qualifying purchase with logged in account, 18 plus UK only. See site for T's and C's.
McDonald's are making their appearance at the FIFA World Cup. They've got a formidable lineup for the FIFA World Cup meal. But who will you pick to lead the line? Big Mac or Chicken McNuggets? Alongside them, Beckham, Henry, Ronaldinho all make their debuts on legendary player cups. The stage is set. Score one of 6 legendary cups with the FIFA World Cup meal. Match ready for adults. Only at McDonald's.
Until the 13th of July from 11 a.m. Meal includes carbonated drink, side and one collectible allocated randomly. While stocks last. Drink upgrade fees apply.
When you're facing a serious parenting dilemma, Tesco Whoosh has you covered. Babe, we're running low on nappies. We hear your cries, Sarah. And theirs. Your Whoosh driver is already on it, delivering anything you need from Tesco from as little as 20 minutes. Because no new parent should have to face a poon army without backup. Tesco Whoosh, for when you seriously need groceries fast. Fees apply. Delivery times range from 20 to 60 minutes. Selected areas only. Pricing specific to Whoosh. See tesco.com/whoosh.
World Cup Game Day live on TalkSport. Brought to you by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever it is, we're here for it.
Official broadcast partner of the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
He makes no mistake!
World Cup Game Day live on TalkSport.
It's the day when FIFA's boast of a global game finally comes to fruition. The greatest show on earth begins on African soil for the first time.
Football unites. The World Cup is the biggest spectacle in the world.
It's Shabalala! Goal! Bafana!
Scoring that goal, it had a lot of significance. First goal on home soil, first opening goal in the World Cup, a goal that set the tone. We knew that that moment would come, and when it comes, we'll go and celebrate when the whole world is watching.
Bafana have popped the first cork on their day of days. And the celebration orchestrated to perfection, as was the counter-attacking move. The 2010 World Cup underway with a goal of real quality from the host. Surely an equaliser it is. It's Rafael Marquez who gets Mexico back on level terms.
The opening game of the 2026 FIFA World Cup sees co-host Mexico host South Africa in what's a repeat of the opening game which happened on this very date 16 years ago back at the 2010 World Cup, set to the sound of the Vuvuzela. Sifiwe Shabalala stunning goal for the then hosts in Johannesburg went down in folklore. The opening game, of course, ending in a 1-1 draw. You just heard from the man himself within that package, thanks to our friends at the FIFA podcast. The Mexicans have made it to the quarterfinals in the past 2 occasions they've hosted. They fell short, though, of their usual standards with a group stage exit in Qatar. This is the first time since hosting that Bafana have made it to the World Cup. They have never made it past the group stage. Nigel Ladgley and the former Chelsea FA Cup winner Scott Minto with me, Hugh Wizencroft. We've got less than 10 minutes to go until kick-off. In fact, the teams will be out very shortly indeed. Scott, what are you expecting to see from the teams in this first 45 minutes?
Well, Hugh, I don't want to put any more pressure on them that they're already got, but there'll be 83,000 fans. There's 133 million Mexican people who live in the country, and there's probably a couple of bill around the world watching this particular game as well. It may be one of those where at any other time in a 4-year period, not many people would watch this, but actually, this is the opening game of the World Cup, so everybody's going to watch it. Look, excuse me, I do think Mexico are very, very strong at home. The record shows that in 70 and 86, and although I'm not one for looking too far back, the Mexicans are very good in their own home and in their own fortress, and they make it a fortress. So I think from South Africa's point of view, especially with the 5-3-2 formation, they'll very much be looking to try and sit back, try and soak up any pressure, not get too tired too early, whereas it's down to Mexico to go on and win this game. And I do actually think they will. I think obviously they're led by the Mexican legend that of course that is Raul Jimenez, and one more goal and he joins he's the second top scorer for the national side. He is 35, he probably won't last the full 90 minutes, but no, I do expect Mexico to be very much on the front foot and win this game.
We've just seen scenes of the Mexican actress Salma Hayek handing over the World Cup trophy to the FIFA president Gianni Infantino inside the Azteca Stadium. He's placed it on a plinth high up in the stadium, and we've seen fireworks shoot into the sky over the Azteca, which looks absolutely sensational, packed to the rafters with over 81,000 fans. The players just waiting inside the tunnel to come out. A bit of dramatic music, of course, adding to that pressure that Scott mentioned. Scott, I do have to ask you that the formula changing for this World Cup means basically a decent win means you're through. Probably 3 points could be enough. Now, we used to see these kind of teams, especially Mexico and South Africa, just throw the kitchen sink at it in every single game. Are you actually able now to grow into the World Cup a little bit due to the changes?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the biggest World Cup ever in terms of amount of teams, and you're right, never before has a third place team been able to qualify, and 8 of the 12 are able to do that. I slightly disagree. I think people are always scared of that first game, even in the past, and they've not wanted to lose it. Whereas I think now you're right, that first game, get the 3 points on the board, it might end up being enough. I just think from Mexico's point of view, being here at the Azteca, the atmosphere, it is absolutely incredible. They'll want to be on the front foot. They'll want to get the country behind them. They'll want to start with those 3 points. Whereas South Africa, don't forget, they haven't played in the World Cup since 2010, and they haven't qualified for a World Cup since 2002. But, you have to say what Hugo Broos has done. He's made the South Africans realise what it means to play for the country. It's not just about the clubs. It's about being proud, and we know that it's a great sporting nation as well. Just football's not where the other sports are. So, fascinating game here. But if Mexico win and win big, let's just say hypothetically, that could be enough for them to qualify. But they want to win this group, Hugh, because if they win it, they stay in Mexico for the last 32 and possibly the last 16, where they could meet England.
Absolutely, they could. Very, very, a big tournament, of course, for any co-host. All the players out now in the middle of the centre circle. That's the 11 and their substitutes as well. Let's hear the first national anthem of South Africa. Two-time Grammy-winning superstar Tyler singing the South African national anthem there for Bafana. And up next, Alejandro Fernandez, Latin Grammy Awards winner, singing the national anthem of Mexico.
Mexicanos al grito de guerra, el acero aprestar y el bridón, y retiembla en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón. Y retiembla en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón. Ciño patria tus sienes de oliva, de la paz el arcángel divino, que en el cielo tu eterno destino por el dedo de Dios escribió. Mas si osare un extraño enemigo profanar con su planta tu suelo, pienso patria querida que el cielo un soldado en cada hijo te dio, un soldado en cada hijo te dio. Mexicanos al grito de guerra, el acero aprestar y el bridón, y retiemble en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón. y retiemble en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón.
Stirring rendition of the Mexican national anthem. Helicopters flying the national flag over the Azteca Stadium. I liked the little a cappella version. It was stirring, wasn't it? And there you go, it's whet the appetite for what is in front of us. El Tri, the Mexicans in their famous green shirt with the unmistakable golden eagle on their crest, taking on Bafana Bafana. Just about seeing some of their yellow home shirts at the moment with the Protea flower proudly emblazoned on the chest. This is it. The 2026 FIFA World Cup begins with the co-host Mexico against South Africa, the first of 104 live games here on TalkSport as the world's biggest sports radio station meets the biggest World Cup in history. Expect joy, expect pain, drama, skill and all the magic of the beautiful game right here across the TalkSport network. South Korea versus Czechia, remember, is live here from 3 a.m. But we begin with Mexico against South Africa from the Estadio Azteca with the former Chelsea and West Ham defender Scott Minto and TalkSport's Nigel Adderley.
Thank you, Hugh. Good evening once again. In many ways, it's fitting that the World Cup starts in a stadium where both Pelé and Diego Maradona lifted the trophy. But this version of football's global jamboree could not be more different to the tournaments those two legends defined. Now we have more games, more hosts, and even more political influence exerted than the military juntas and various autocrats have managed in the past. But in previous tournaments, once the football starts, other issues often faded into the background. And a passionate Mexican crowd here today should remind us why this matters to so many people and why it's so important. The players, coaches and officials should be allowed to get on with it. A reminder of the two teams: Mexico, Rangel in goal, Reyes, Montes, Vasquez and Gallardo their back four. Lira will be their holding midfielder. Alvarado, Gutierrez, Pidalgo and Quinones supported Jimenez in attack. The big call for them was the inclusion of Raul Rangel in goal ahead of the veteran Guillermo Ochoa. South Africa's team is dominated by the African Champions League winners Mamelodi Sundowns. 6 of those players are in the starting lineup, including the goalkeeper Ronwen Williams, who plays ahead of a back three of Ocon, Sabisi and Umbakazi, with Madao and Madiba the wing backs, Mokoena, Sitole and Adams in midfield, with Foster and Reyners in attack. Lyle Foster of Burnley, the only English-based player in the Bafana Bafana lineup at kick-off time at least. And Scott Minto, it is great that after all of the talk and a degree of controversy, now we've got some football to watch.
Yeah, this is what we're here for, and you can't help but get excited of a World Cup. It's the biggest competition out there. It's the greatest show on earth, and everyone who's got a TV or a radio are going to be tuned in and listening and watching what's about to unfold over the next 6-7 weeks. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen with England, but we can just sit back, get the popcorn and enjoy it.
Don't forget Scotland.
Scotland as well, of course.
Big game for them coming up in the early hours of Sunday morning at home to Haiti. We've got every single game coming up on the TalkSport network. All 104. The referee, Wilton Pereira Sampaio of Brazil, meeting the two captains, Ronwen Williams, the South African goalkeeper, and the Mexican central defender, Cesar Montes. And Montes and Vasquez have been a very impressive duo at the heart of the Mexican team during their warm-up games, and they've been in really good form. In contrast, South Africa have had their issues on and off the field. They've not won in 5 games. They had visa issues which were self-inflicted before the tournament, which delayed their arrival, which meant their warm-up game against Jamaica had to be behind closed doors. It was reported as a 1-0 win for South Africa, when in fact it finished as a 1-1 draw. So not the smoothest build-up for them, but they're here now, and this will really feel like an away game for them. It seems everybody inside the stadium is wearing a green shirt in support of Mexico. But can South Africa stun this stadium and cause a real shock on the opening night of the World Cup? It is Mexico who will get the game underway. It is the biggest World Cup ever, and the TalkSport network is the best place to follow it. The only radio station bringing you every single game, and it begins here at the Azteca Stadium in Mexico. Flashlights all around the stadium as Mexico get the game underway in their green shirts, white shorts and red socks, attacking the goal away to our right in the first half. South Africa in all yellow today, and really, Scott Minto, it's up to Mexico to set that tempo as quickly as they can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, of course they're used to it. They've got a couple of players who even play in this stadium as well, but you know, they still have to pace it themselves. But I think out of a lot of the countries that are going to be in this competition, South Africa are one of the ones who can perhaps be okay with these type of conditions. However, Mexico need to be on the front foot of that, there's no doubt. And if they can, then they can just grind down these South Africans, which I believe will be absolutely delighted to come away with the point.
And Mexico looking to build in the opening seconds here with Julian Quinones, who was the Golden Boot winner in the Saudi Arabian League this season, pipped Ivan Toney with a hat-trick on the final night. He plays for Al Qadsiya, who are now coached by Brendan Rodgers, and he could be a key player for them on the left-hand side. Now it's back towards Montez, and on the halfway line, Johan Vasquez. And I don't think South Africa have had a kick yet. Nearly 90 seconds played, and it's been Mexico patiently working the ball around, but that's been their style of play under Javier Aguirre in the build-up to this World Cup. Now South Africa do manage to win the ball back with Adams in the midfield, and it's back towards Mudau and all the way back to Rowan Williams, their goalkeeper, who quickly plays the ball out because Jimenez was pressing him very high, and South Africa now get their first chance to experience some time on the ball down their right-hand side.
Yeah, it was actually really good play from South Africa because Mexico wanted to try and press. Obviously not an easy thing to do in these conditions, but they played it out nicely, beat the press, and then Mexico just had to drop back. That's what they have to do. If Mexico could just get a sniff of the South Africans just being either very nervous or just not good enough to play out and beat their press, then they'll do it continuously. If they are able to beat it, then Mexico will just have to just drop off and think of a plan B.
Well, they try and beat the press there with a long ball played out by Williams, but Madiba unable to control it as Javier Aguirre, the coach of Mexico, paces around his technical area. This is third World Cup as coach. He was in charge in 2010 when South Africa were the host nation. They played Mexico in the opening game in Johannesburg, which finished in a 1-1 draw as Mexico get the game's first free kick. Midway inside the South Africa half, it was Alvarado who was caught by Madiba, and Mexico will send forward the big men, Montez and Vasquez here, to try and attack this free kick. And Alvarado and Gutierrez are both over this, and the first set-piece opportunity for Mexico in this World Cup. Now Roberto Alvarado of Chivas Guadalajara could flight this in with the left foot, or it will be Brian Gutierrez, his clubmate. And it's Gutierrez who strikes it. I think he was going for goal, looking to catch out Williams at the near post. It was very ambitious, but the two-man wall managed to repel it, and it will be a throw into Mexico on this near side.
Well, I'm not sure if that's confidence or whether it's a little bit of stupidity, but I'm not even sure it would have reached where he didn't connect with it properly. I suppose in a way I'll take it as the first one, the confidence to do something like that, but you know, it was a poor attempt in what would have been just a great opportunity to put South Africa under pressure early on.
Alvarado now plays it wide towards Reyes, the cross into the penalty area, fired in by Jimenez, and a brilliant save by Williams to turn the ball behind for a corner. It fell to Jimenez on his left foot on the edge of the penalty area, and he really caught hold of that but Williams with an outstanding save, the first of the World Cup.
It's a brilliant save, it really is. I mean, in slow motion it looks like it's one he should make quite easily, but it was a good strike from Jimenez.
First corner into the near post. Williams comes and punches the ball away, but not conclusively. Jimenez now with a high ball in it, headed up in the air by a South African defender at the far post. It was Umbakazi. Madiba will try and clear, but they're making heavy weather of that until it's now played forward towards Reyners, and South Africa have the opportunity to break over the halfway line, and it's a good ball wide to the left-hand side of Foster, and Reyners had to check his run in field as he headed towards the edge of the penalty area. I think he would have been offside had Foster played the ball in time, but in the end it's all the way back towards Raul Rangel.
Right, so in a space of a minute we've seen exactly how these two teams are going to play. Mexico, with or without the ball, they'll try and press high, they'll try and play with a high intensity, try and break down this South African defence. South Africa, well, if they can, they'll play out, they'll counter-attack. And Lyle Foster should have realised that Reyners was offside there, not play it in there, because again, they're not going to get too many opportunities. Got to get make the most of it when you're in the final third.
Gallardo plays it forward from the Mexican left. 5 minutes played here on TalkSport, the opening game of the 2026 World Cup, live from the Azteca Stadium, and it's Mexico 0, South Africa 0. And don't forget, coming up tomorrow morning, 3 a.m. start, it is the other game in this group, South Korea against the Czech Republic from Guadalajara, with Adam Bridge and Darren Ambrose. And there is so much World Cup football coming up over the weekend, and you can hear it here on the TalkSport network. And the best thing to do is download the TalkSport app, and then you can head to the live commentaries page and discover exactly where and when the games are, because believe you me, they're at all hours, as Reyes plays it in field for Mexico towards their captain Cesar Montes, and now it's brought forward by Reyes on the far side. Quinones coming deep, and now Jimenez working it further wide to Gallardo, who looks to go beyond the challenge of Mudau, but he's done well to slide in and make the challenge. And Mudau wants a goal kick, and the officials agree.
Well, that wasn't the right decision. Gallardo going down the left-hand side is a really good tackle from Mudau, who ideally wants to try and get forward as much as he possibly can. Both these wing-backs want to do that, but they know what their role is today. Is to sit in, defend well, try and keep that clean sheet if they possibly can. And just on the amount of games that's going on, or going to be going on over the next few weeks, I think everybody's body clock will have no idea where in the world it is.
And I think that includes all the players involved as well, because some of them will be doing thousands of miles over the group stage, whether they're popping between different countries and different time zones. It's just gone 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Mexico City, but it's not too warm. It's 24 degrees, and of course there is the altitude as well, which is often an advantage for the Mexican team, but maybe not today, because a number of the South African players also feature at altitude, as those of us who discovered when we headed to the World Cup in 2010 sometimes found to our cost when we were out for an early morning jog, as Mexico try and bring it forward on the far side, but it breaks off Gallardo behind for a goal kick.
How long did you last on that jog?
Not very long.
I reckon to hotel reception, and that was it.
Yes, that was pretty much it. Certainly the courtyard. Now it's all played all the way back to Ronwen Williams, who's already made one great save to keep South Africa on level terms. Now they've given the ball away on the edge of their own penalty area, and it's fired in by Quinones! And Mexico have the first goal of the 2026 World Cup, and it's Julian Quinones, his signature move, cutting inside from the left and firing it home right-footed. A defensive shambles from South Africa, but it's lift off for Mexico in their own World Cup. 9 minutes played, Mexico 1, South Africa 0.
Well, it's the worst possible start for South Africa, the best possible start for Mexico. You just mentioned that the goalkeeper Williams made a wonderful save. He has given an absolute hospital pass into one of his centre-backs. And he just wasn't ready for it. Absolutely fantastic pressing, you have to say, from Eric Lira. And as Quinones gets on the ball, there was no way he was going to pass it. South Africa couldn't get back in position. He just needed to go past one player, he did. And then he just hammered it as hard as he could. And although it wasn't that far from Williams wasn't able to make the save. What a start for Mexico, but what a mistake from South Africa.
Well, Quinones, season domestically in Saudi Arabia, 33 goals in 32 games, but that's his first goal for Mexico for 2 years. Only his third goal in his 23rd appearance. But it was a horrible moment, really, for Yaya Sithole, the midfielder. He was caught out, but really, it was the pass to him that was the wrong option.
Shouldn't be giving it there, and he can see it. Sithole's he's got his back to play. Lira's just about to come down. He's got to look up the keeper and say, I can't play this here. I know you may be shouting for it, but no. And by playing it, and experience he's got as well. You know, he's captain. He's won the equivalent of the South African Champions League. He's an experienced player. He can see the whole play. You're in Mexico. It's the first game of the World Cup. Don't make any mistakes, not silly ones. And just don't give him the ball in there. And Sithole, well, unless he gave it straight back, suddenly Lira was bang on him, and it's been a brilliant start for Mexico. You have to say, you know, we wondered how it would start. It's exactly how we thought it would be. South Africa just trying to take out as much pressure from Mexico as possible. Mexico trying to apply that pressure, and they have got off to the best possible start.
And the inclusion of Quinones was a subject of debate in Mexican football. There had been some thought that the precocious 17-year-old Gilberto Mora would start on the left-hand side of midfield, but Quinones has been in such blistering form for his club Al Qadsiya, and that was spotted by Javier Aguirre. He's gone for form, and that's been justified with the first goal of the World Cup. And it could be a very long 90 minutes for South Africa here. Of course, they scored the first goal 16 years ago when Sefwine Shabalala scored the goal for all of Africa. Rafa Marquez with the equaliser. He's on the bench for Mexico today as the assistant coach, and he'll take over when Javier Aguirre steps down at the end of the tournament, as Jimenez chases a long ball forward on the far side. Madao managing to cover, but at the expense of a corner, and the body language for South Africa at the moment isn't great.
Well, they know they're under pressure, and the now Wolves striker Raul Jimenez, he won't want to make too many runs like that in these conditions, even though it's not the hottest. But brilliant play from him. Channel run, keep it in, win the corner.
Corner in towards that near post. Jimenez rising with a header, but got right underneath it, loops high into the air, and it's gathered by Ronwen Williams, the South African goalkeeper. 12 minutes played here on TalkSport, the opening game of the 2026 World Cup. Mexico leading South Africa by 1-0. And South Africa try and break with a long ball forward, but it's all the way through to Raul Rangel, the Mexican number one. Don't forget, as far as the home nations are concerned, Haiti against Scotland. That's 2 o'clock on Sunday morning. Natalie Sawyer, Joe Shannon and Mark McGee, the former Scotland assistant manager, will bring you that game. England don't play their first game against Croatia until next Wednesday. That feels an age away. And of course, Adrian Durham will be leading our England team, as always, for that opening game, as Mexico try and come forward again. I suppose being in one of the lower groups, England will get a good opportunity to see virtually everybody else by the time they play. And even at this stage, Scott, could that give them some sort of edge?
No, I don't think so. I think they'll get a flavour of what the World Cup's about. And yes, that's why England played Costa Rica just last night, because the next game, first game, isn't until Wednesday. But I don't really think it's going to make too much difference, and if anything, it makes the tournament shorter for them, doesn't it? Because obviously we want them to go all the way.
And that game in Arlington on Wednesday evening, live on TalkSport. But Mexico have made the perfect start here, and they've got the crowd on their side. right from the start with that goal from Canóñez. They've been in good form as well. Of course, they played a succession of friendlies as they were the team, or one of the teams, given a bye through as being the co-hosts, as they get another free kick, and it's Mokoena who has been penalised for a challenge on halfway, and the player who was sent flying was Alvaro Fidigo. Player plays in Spain for Real Betis, and it will be a free kick for Mexico, who are right on top here, and they have got the taste for more goals.
Yeah, just watching a replay of Julian Quinoñez's strike, he has absolutely just hammered it, and it's gone through the legs of Williams. I don't blame the keeper for not stopping it, I blame the keeper for making that pass in the first place.
Mexico coming forward again with Gutierrez down their right, but he's penalised for the challenge on Umbakazi, and it will be a free kick for South Africa, who need to try and find some way of working their way back into this game.
Yeah, because if you look at the stats, 62% to 38, and South Africa haven't had a shot on or off target yet, and Mexico have had 5 attempts, 2 on target. Yes, they knew they'd be under pressure in the first 15 minutes, but they have to find a way to do something in the final third as well.
Canóñez scoring in the 9th minute, which is the quickest goal in an opening game since Philipp Lahm for Germany against Costa Rica 20 years ago. South Africa come forward now. It's worked towards the edge of the area by Umbakazi, but it ricochets to this near side there left, and Madiba. And Umbakazi again with the cross in, headed away at the near post by Montes. And Mexico will try and build, and Lira challenged there by Taylor. It was a late challenge, and it's the first yellow card of this World Cup for Burnley's Lyle Taylor.
Well, it was a really poor challenge as well. Again, it's one thing to press, it's another thing just to dive in.
In fact, it was Teboho Mokoena who was the player who dived in to make the challenge.
And he's been a really key player for the South Africans over the last couple of years, arguably their best player, and yet he's not able to get hold of the ball, and that shows the frustration in the first 15 minutes. Yes, at least they've got the ball into Mexico's half, but Mexico are zipping it around and just half a yard off at the moment.
South Africa haven't qualified for the World Cup since they hosted it in 2010. They were the first team to go out in the group stage as a host nation. Of course, Qatar emulated them 4 years ago. And it was even though they beat France in their final game, that French team which really capitulated under Roman Domenech at that tournament, as Mokoena plays it forward again for South Africa, looking to thread it into the path of Adams, but it's overhit and it's all the way through towards Raul Rangel, the Mexican goalkeeper, once again.
Yeah, the problem is with a 5 at the back, especially if you suddenly concede and you're 1-0 down, you have to find a way to help out your midfielders. At the moment, Mexico have got an extra man in midfield if those wing-backs are dropping off as a 5. They need to be able to push on, have the confidence for the 3 centre-halves to split a little, and then they can help a little bit more further up the pitch, and they haven't been doing that so far. And I think it goes to show that Mokoena's sort of the dive in, the lack of a proper tackle, and the yellow card just shows the frustration and how much overrun they are at the moment.
18 minutes played, Mexico 1, South Africa 0. You're listening to the World Cup Game Day Live on TalkSport, brought to you by Burger King Burger Buddies. Total tournament satisfaction delivered by the experts. Order now on the BK app. As Williams, the South African goalkeeper, clears long downfield, Cesar Montes rises to head the ball away, and it's worked in field by Alvarado, and Alvarado will now receive it back from Lira. He's got some space down the right hand side, and a good run made further forward by Gutierrez. Those two have linked up well so far down the left hand side. Now Reyes again. Reyes clips it towards the edge of the penalty area, and there's a smart turn from Canóñez. He lets fly, and it wasn't too far away. Julian Canóñez absolutely buzzing at the moment after scoring the opening goal, and he hit that right-footed. Williams allowed it to go, and it just brushed the outside of the netting.
Yeah, do you know what? It's really good football, but Quinones there has gone for glory again. You've already got your goal. There's someone in a better position. And Fidalgo has got himself, if it just slid him in and a decent first touch, he would have been a one-on-one there. So, again, it's really important. Look, South Africa at the moment are being outplayed, outrun, out everything, but there's still only one goal down. One mistake, one bit of brilliance, one set piece, and they're back in the game. Mexico really need to get that second goal, and if they get it in the next 5, 10, 15 minutes, I'm not quite sure how South Africa are going to come back from it, but all the while it's 1-0, they're in the game, so very, very selfish on Quinones there.
The winner of this group, Group A, would play a third-place team in the round of 32, and if Mexico and England win their groups and win their first knockout games, they would meet here in the Azteca Stadium in the round of 16. And for those of us with longer memories, England playing in the Azteca Stadium is something which may produce just a slight shudder. But there's a long way to go before we get there.
And Mexico haven't got a Diego Maradona.
No. And the pitch looks a good deal better now than it did that day.
Yes. Don't think anyone.
But England don't have a Gary Lineker, though, do they?
No,
they do have a Harry
true.
Kane.
John Barnes came on and nearly changed the game.
Absolutely. It was John Barnes and Chris Waddle anyway. More on that if it happens, as Mexico win a free kick on this near side. The Brazilian referee, very experienced, Wilton Pereira Sampaio, and he's taking no nonsense at the moment.
Yeah, do you know what it feels like? You know, watching the England-Costa Rica game. Like, one team much better, the other one starting off realising they're a bit inferior, then suddenly trying to get a bit physical, and that's what I'm seeing here now. Mexico much the better side, and the referee just having a word with a couple of South Africans. Calm your challenges down, or you're going to get a yellow and a red card.
A high ball swung into the penalty area, looking for Jimenez at the far post, but South Africa will clear. And now Foster on this near side, who is really ploughing a lone furrow at the moment, just in front of his coach Hugo Bruce, who becomes the oldest coach in World Cup history, taking charge of this game today. He'll hold the record for about 6 hours until the Czech Republic kick off later on, and then he'll lose the record again, or rather the Czech coach will lose the record again when Dick Advocat at the age of 78 is in charge of Curaçao when they play Germany live on Talk Sport on Sunday tea time, as a high ball is played forward for South Africa, and it's fumbled by the goalkeeper Rangel, and it's recovered by Reyes, who tries to deliver the ball back into the penalty area, but the cross was blocked. But that was an awkward moment for Mexico. Now McQuainer coming forward, and he claims he was caught on the right hand side. The assistant eventually puts his flag up, and now the referee, having not given a decision, comes over to this near side and books Gutierrez for the challenge, and it will be a free kick for South Africa, level with the edge of the Mexican penalty area down their right.
Yeah, it looked like he wasn't going to give it, and then he's given a yellow card. I'm not sure it is a yellow. Yes, it's a little bit late. I think it's a foul for sure, but he does miss the ball completely. But just a little bit earlier, as you said there, Rangel, what was he doing? He's come out, and if you're going to come out, it's not actually that much of a difficult catch. He's trying to turn it into a one-hand catch. He's dropped it. Got away with that one.
Free kick for South Africa. 23 minutes played at the Azteca Stadium in the opening game of the 2026 World Cup. Live on Talk Sport. Mexico leading by a 0-0. But South Africa with a set piece here as they look to pull level, and the referee is having words with Lyle Foster about some pushing and shoving that was going on inside the area, and the message very clearly was cut it out. But this the first real defensive test for Mexico at this World Cup. The free kick into the near post is cleared away by Jimenez. Now it's played back high by Mbakazi, and in the end Mexico will clear, and the goal scorer Quinones, but he's quickly closed down on the far side by Jaden Adams, and it spins behind and it will be a goal kick. Don't forget, 3 a.m. kickoff tomorrow morning for South Korea against Czech Republic. You can get all of the reaction to the opening night of the World Cup in World Cup breakfast with Jason Cundy and Gabby Agbonlahor between 6 and 10 tomorrow. Then Hawksby and Jacobs in their World Cup time between 10 and 1, and then White and Jordan live from New York between 1 and 4 tomorrow afternoon before World Cup game day drive. And then myself and Scott will be back to bring you Canada against Bosnia, the first game for Canada at home in a World Cup. That's an 8 o'clock kickoff tomorrow night. We have a hydration break here, and I think it's a good opportunity for South Africa to have a few words with their coach, Scott.
Yeah, he won't be happy with what he's seen. I mean, they've got away with only losing 1-0, to be honest with you. I think Mexico have been very, very good going forward. You know, and yet, I say that, but actually the goal came from a mistake, an unforced error. There's no way Williams should have given that to Sitole. But well done, Eric Lira, for pouncing on it. Well done also for Quinones for the strike at goal. And I mean, he's going to be a hero in Mexico for life now.
And some breaking news in the last few minutes. Liverpool's Wataru Endo has withdrawn from Japan's World Cup squad due to injury and announced his retirement from international football. Japan's first game is this Sunday, a 9 o'clock kickoff, tough one as well, against the Netherlands. Adrian Durham, Jim Proudfoot and Stuart Pearce will bring you that game. Of course, many people have been discussing Japan as a team that could do some damage here, but already without one of their main players.
Yeah, that's a blow. And obviously no Karen Matoma as well. You know, many people's dark horse is not necessarily to win the competition, but to go quite deep, or at least have an upset. So I think it is a blow. Even if he wasn't going to play many minutes, I'm very much the sort of experienced player being around the camp. Jordan Henderson, I do think is very important. So yeah, a blow for the Japanese for sure.
Big day on Saturday as well. 2 a.m. on Saturday morning, so Friday night. USA against Paraguay with Flo Pollock and Albin Martin. Then Saturday evening, UK time, Qatar against Switzerland at 8 o'clock with Hugh, Ian Danta and Scott. And then at 11 o'clock, we get our first look at Ancelotti's Brazil at this World Cup. They're playing Morocco. Commentary from Paul Mitchell and Darren Bent. And then following that game, the other game in that group, which of course is Scotland against Haiti. It is all happening, and it seems that the first few days of a World Cup always seem to pass by in a blur for so many reasons.
The games come thick and fast. Might be falling asleep in front of some of them, but we want to try and watch as much as possible for sure.
Mexico playing all of their games in their home country. They've got South Korea on Thursday in Guadalajara before coming back here for their final game against the Czech Republic. But South Africa will play their next game in Atlanta against the Czech Republic before going down to Monterrey to meet South Korea for their final match. So they'll be clocking up some miles as well, although Atlanta is maybe one of the more accessible US venues from Mexico. We're back underway following the rehydration break. You're listening to World Cup Game Day Live on TalkSport, brought to you by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever it is, they're here for it. Mexico pick up a loose ball. Fidalgo looking to break forward now. Jimenez coming short, wide towards the left, and Quinones. He goes all the way back to Reyes, who is an overlapping fullback. Gallardo is also in support as well. And Mexico look to rediscover their rhythm here, although since the goal they've not offered a huge amount going forward.
No, I agree. And actually, you know, South Africa's still looking for their first shot on or off target, but the possession has gone up a lot more, which shows they're starting to get a little bit more control of the game. Territorially, the ball was more in the half of Mexico than it was in the first 15 minutes. Now the next stage is, can we somehow get a shot, whether it's on or off target, and just create some opportunities, because up until now it's almost like waiting for Mexico's second goal.
Quinones with an excellent ball forward towards Gutierrez inside the area. His shot is blocked and it's cleared away by Ocon. And Mudau can go long downfield on the South African right, but it's all the way through towards Rangel, and that's the problem for South Africa, that they look for that long ball forward, but both Reyners and Foster are heavily outnumbered.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's two strikers, and you don't often see that in today's game. So that if it's one striker, then the ball has to be perfect in their counter-attack, but there's two. You should be able to hit one of those two.
High ball swung into the penalty area now from Mexico, from Israel Reyes, who plays in this stadium for the America club, but it's gathered by Ronwen Williams.
And I think that ball up to the front two, one hasn't been good enough, but when it has gone up to one of those two strikers, they haven't brought it down and just, allowed the South Africa defence to have a bit of a breather. It's come straight back. So, yes, the midfield are getting a little bit more on the ball, but if they are going to go from back to front in a direct way, one of the front two have to do a little bit better than what they're doing at the moment.
Half an hour played on Talk Sport in the Azteca Stadium. Mexico lead South Africa by a 1-0. Julian Quinones with the perfect start for Mexico in the opening game of the World Cup. And they will hope they are setting the tone for this particular host nation. This is their first competitive game for a year since they won the Gold Cup final, the CONCACAF Regional Championship. They beat USA in Houston. A succession of friendlies since, and they've really picked up form the closer they've got to the World Cup, in contrast to South Africa, who lost to Cameroon in the African Cup of Nations round of 16 in January and have not won a game since. And Bafana need to step things up here. They have beaten Mexico in the past. They were guests in the CONCACAF Gold Cup in 2005, and they beat Mexico in Los Angeles, but that's a long time ago. And it's a team which is predominantly based in South Africa, and at the moment maybe they've been slightly exposed in certain areas.
Well, I think again, the nerves of the opener of the World Cup can come into play. The fact that Mexico, would they be nervous in a detrimental or a really positive way?
But now Madiba with a good run forward for South Africa on this near side, but he thought he'd won a corner kick as the cross was blocked by Reyes, but the flag goes up and he's offside, although I don't think he was.
It was tight, and that's why I just was quiet there, because it's the first time really they got in behind the Mexican defence. But yeah, I just feel with South Africa they're growing a little bit more into the game. The longer it stays 1-0, maybe the Mexican fans will get a little bit nervy. It was a great start, not just with the goal as well. Very positive play with and without the ball, and it's just calmed down a little bit now. And Mexico need to keep the ball a bit better. They're trying to go long now and just giving the ball away. In these conditions, they should know. Keep the ball, try and tire out the team. But if you can play with a little bit more intensity than just a touch, pass, slow, then you can move this South African team around.
Mexico usually do well at the start of World Cups. They've not been beaten in their opening game since Norway beat them 1-0 back in 1994. 5 wins and 2 draws since, but they've given up possession here cheaply inside their own half, and we can just see Eric Lira, the holding midfielder, just telling his team to calm things down, because they're in control of this game, but maybe they're just forcing it in search of a second goal. But now South Africa coming forward. Lyle Foster into the penalty area, plays it wide to the far side, but it's behind Mudau, who had plenty of space to make the run in behind, but Foster not precise enough with the pass, and it's out of play for a throw into Mexico.
Well, it's not the first time that Foster's got the ball in a decent position. That was a very, very good position. If it had better touch, turn, shot, or just actually tried to slip it in between the two Mexican defenders, in the end he's trying to go round it with the pass, and he's just completely overplayed it and given the ball away. It's poor play, really.
And now Mexico over the halfway line with Gutierrez in the centre circle, wide to Alvarado on the right, Reyes on the overlap. But it's a good challenge coming across towards this near side from Mbakazi, who plays his club football for Chicago Fire in Major League Soccer, and it will be a throw-in for Mexico.
You know, it's one of those tackles that you absolutely love, because you know the opposition player feels he has to go for it. You can get ball and man without being a foul.
Alvarado now finding Gutierrez for Mexico, and Fidalgo has got Quinones in support. Thought about the shot, but instead finds Reyes low into the 6-yard area, looking for Jimenez, but claimed well by Ronwen Williams.
Well, it's the first time in a long time that Mexico have actually been in the final third looking dangerous, got behind the South African defence. And look, there's two Mexican players there going towards the back post, one of them, and I was surprised it's not Jimenez. He's got to go across the near, because to try and from where he had the ball to ping it to the far post, either a little dink would have been almost a perfect sandwich, or just hammer it across, and he's tried to whip it across, and in the end the keeper Williams has saved it pretty easily. One of those two has got to get across the near post.
Mexico went out in the group stage 4 years ago. I remember being in Lusail when they lost to Argentina in their second group game, an Argentina side that were under pressure, having lost to Saudi Arabia in their first match, but Lionel Messi inspired them, and Mexico lost and never really recovered.
That was arguably one of the most atmospheric games in that World Cup.
It certainly was. It was fantastic. But it was a rarity for Mexico, because in the 7 tournaments before that, they've always gone out in the round of 16. They've always flattered to deceive. But they're very consistent, only failing to qualify twice since 1950.
And when it's held in Mexico, and they can go here in Mexico all the way to the round of 16, they've gone through to the quarterfinals, haven't they?
1970 and 1986. They beat Belgium in their first game 40 years ago, and Hugo Broos, the South African coach, was part of the Belgian back four that day, and up against Javier Aguirre, the Mexican coach, who was then sent off in the match that Mexico lost against West Germany. But clearly they've not held it against it. South Africa looking to build here. 9 minutes to play in the first half on TalkSport. Mexico leading by 1-0. Modal. Now it's wide to this near side for South Africa, and Mbakazi, the central defender, is getting forward a lot, and he picks out Foster, but it was a looping header from him. It was an angle cross in coming over Foster's shoulder, and it's a couple of yards wide.
Yeah, it's a really difficult header, one to get on target, and two, get the power as well to beat the keeper. But you know, at least that's an attempt. It's the first one they've done, and actually, if it stays like this at half time, I don't think South Africa would be, after the start that they had, will be unhappy with how it's gone. 1-0 down, started off poorly, have come more and more into the game, have now had at least an attempt, even though it's not on goal, but at goal. And I feel they will feel in the second half that maybe they can start to frustrate the Mexicans, both the players and the fans, and maybe nick a draw out of this.
Well, there's more of a hum around the stadium than the sort of raucous atmosphere we had when the goal was scored. And Mexico often use the Azteca Stadium as their 12th man for so many reasons, not just the altitude, but the atmosphere they can generate. And this stadium was opened 60 years ago tomorrow. And which big team did they get to come and play in the opening game?
Was it England?
No, Brazil? England were preparing for the 1966 World Cup. Tottenham. Alan Gilzean scored the first goal in this stadium. Ask your granddad.
Of course. My granddad wasn't a Spurs fan.
Here is Montes. And at the moment, Mexico maybe just over-elaborating. It was Lira who was put under pressure by the ball played into him by Vasquez, the central defender. Lira got caught. It was certainly a robust challenge from Yaya Sitole. I think a free kick may have been given, but Lira is still on the ground.
Yeah, you know, it's been a really good start for Mexico, very much on the front foot. You know, they weren't burdened by the pressure. It inspired them in the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but since then, to be fair to
South Africa, and probably because of the goal, maybe Mexico have just switched off a little bit. This allows South Africa not necessarily really to test the Mexican goal, but just to have a little bit more control in this game. And as I say, if it goes to 1-0, even at the start of the game, but especially after 10 minutes, they'd be absolutely delighted with the scoreline.
Sun comes out again at the Azteca Stadium. It's been a hazy sort of day due to the altitude, but the temperature may be rising on the field here as Gutierrez looks for Alvarado, but a good challenge from Mbakazi, which is applauded by Hugo Broos, the South African coach, who is the longest serving coach at this World Cup. He's been in the job since 2021, but he'll also be stepping down at the end of the tournament. As we head into the final 5 minutes of the first half, but we will have the added time due to the hydration break. And it was in the previous World Cup where we started to see the added time heading up towards 7, 8, 9 minutes, which we're now more used to seeing. And it will be interesting to see what FIFA's policy is in this World Cup. Good ball forward now by Quinones to find Gutierrez, back towards Quinones, but it's broken up by Sibisi.
Hello, my friend.
But at the moment, every time South Africa get the ball, they very quickly give it away. Here is Quinones again. Infield towards Alvarado. Now wide to Reyes on the right-hand side. Reyes just forced to come in field again, so Lira will scoop it high towards the edge of the penalty area, where it's headed away by Madao, but now a high ball back in towards Jimenez, and he just gets a flick on it, but it's kept down again well by Williams. And Raul Jimenez, close to a second, he may have been offside, but he didn't know that, and neither did Roman Williams, who made another fine save.
Yeah, I think he was probably just offside, inches no more. But it's the faintest of touches. The thing is for the keeper that he's got to wait to see if he does get a proper touch or no touch. So he sees it late and dives late. Good reactions, good save.
Quinones coming in field again from the left-hand side. Right foot shot from him is deflected into the path of Alvarado. Back inside, Quinones! He's hit the post! Julian Quinones so close to a second goal for Mexico. Went for precision, stroked it low along the ground, beat Williams, and it came back off the inside of the post.
Well, he could have had a hat-trick, Quinones, couldn't he? Got one, hit the post, 25-yard shot, out. Very unlucky here. The ball was played back to him. The Quiven just to the side of the penalty spot, 13, 14 yards out. He side-footed it, given Williams no chance, but it's hit the post. Williams will claim that if it was on target, then he could have got a touch to it and tipped it round the post. And what a moment that would have been for Mexico, and a massive moment for South Africa, talking about how they're desperate to try and get into 1-0. If that had been 2-0, wouldn't have fancied them coming back and getting anything from this game.
Well, he's a goal scorer, Julian Quinones, and he's shown that already. He's prepared to let fly from almost every angle. And Mexico at the moment just looking to give him the ball as Fidalgo comes forward now. Quinones is the option to the left, but he goes longer to the right looking for Jimenez, but it's headed away. And now Madiba will gather for South Africa. They're not out of this game, South Africa, because one or two flaky moments at the back for Mexico as Reyners plays it wide towards Madao, appeals for handball as the cross is blocked at the near post by Gallardo, but it spins behind off Gallardo anyway, and South Africa have a corner.
Yeah, do you know what, the two wing-backs both like to get forward, but it's definitely been Madao more so than Madiba. Madao on the right-hand side, who has got forward. You know, he has got up and down. You can see fantastic engine on him. And it was good defending in the end for Mexico, but again, we talked about what a moment it could have been for the home side to get that second goal before half-time. What a moment this could be, right on half-time, set piece.
Final minute of the first half, it's played short and then whipped back into the penalty area, and it's headed away at the near post by Reyes. South Africa have it back, and it's struck from fully 35 yards by Umbakazi, and it was on target as well, but Raul Angel is able to step across to his right and pat the ball down.
Well, I'll tell you what, he is one of those centre-halves that's big, strong. We've already seen a few times today that he loves the tackle. He had no backswing, he didn't run into it at all. He just, I'm 40 yards out, I'm just going to have a pop standing still. I'll tell you what, it was a great strike, it was going in. Obviously it's one that the keeper should be saving, but he did get good power behind it.
Mbekazeli Umbakazi is a player who South Africa have looked to over the last year or so, is one of the youngsters who've come into the team. Only 20 years of age, and he's shown no fear whatsoever here so far today, as Quinones with a burst into the penalty area for Mexico, but he's beaten to it by Williams, who hammers it downfield, and now Reina's at the other end from that clearance, nearly fastened onto it, and it's out of play on the far side. We're into a minimum of 4 more minutes at the end of the first half. We've not had either medical team on. We had the hydration break, and that's about right.
I'll tell you what, I look at both these sides. Look, it may well end up 1-0, but I do think defensively both are not at their best, or can be got at, can be with a good bit of movement and passing, get them into the final third and then create opportunities. I'm sure the other two in the group will be watching this and thinking, you know what, we can score against them. But at this moment in time, it is Mexico on top, and they have been the better side. They definitely deserve to be leading going into half-time.
The other two teams in the group, South Korea and the Czech Republic, meeting in Guadalajara, 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. And you can join Ollie Klink, Adam Bridge and Darren Ambrose for that game, live on Talk Sport. Alvarado with a throw-in for Mexico on this near side, and then we'll have a day of programming on the TalkSport network, looking back on what's happened today and what's coming up over the weekend before Canada-Bosnia tomorrow, as the shot from the edge of the penalty area is fired in by Gallardo, which took a deflection, spins into the arms of Williams, and very important now for South Africa to get to half-time no more than a goal down.
Yeah, you just feel though that they're looking more confident, even though Mexico have hit the post and certainly had the much better chances going forward. I just feel after the first 15 minutes they just feel a lot more comfortable now in this situation, being in the opening game of a World Cup.
Taken down well on this near side by Madiba, and he eventually rides the scrambling challenge of Alvarado. Madiba will now try and attack him down the right-hand side, and the challenge from Alvarado, and the final touch was off Madiba, and it spins behind for a goal kick. But they do have wing-backs, South Africa, in their team, and they're finally getting them forward in an attacking sense. And I think Madiba may have been unlucky there looking at the replay. That was a corner.
It's a poor decision. It's just 2 or 3 times that's happened now, where it's been tight, but the actual free kick or corner should have gone to South Africa. Tough playing here against the Mexicans.
And Javier Aguirre chuntering away to himself, the Mexican coach, as he's seen his team not defend with complete security so far. But now Jimenez wins it back and finds Quinones. Quinones chops back in field, plays an excellent ball forward. Gutierrez into the penalty area, misses his kick, but it still almost goes in because he hit that and it bobbled beyond Williams, who was completely wrong-footed by the scuffed effort, and it nearly crept in.
I'm not quite sure what Gutierrez was trying there. He sort of cut across it. He's done the old Tommy toe punt. He's not hit it well at all, almost the Romario without meaning to, but he's had Williams scrambling. It's a great opportunity again just before half-time. Good play from Quinones, going past a couple of players, playing Gutierrez in, who made a good run, but just seemed to panic at the end. If that was Raul Jimenez, maybe that would have been 2-0.
Mbakazi plays a long ball forward now, and there's a run on this near side from Reyners. And Ingram Reyners has not stopped running for South Africa in the first half, but very little reward for the Mamelodi Sundowns player. And Hugo Bruce will be composing his half-time team talk because the whistle has gone. The opening 45 minutes of the 2026 World Cup is over, and it's Mexico who lead by a 1-0. Julian Quinones scoring in the 9th minute. He also hit the post. Mexico have carried the greater threat, but it's a slender lead at half-time. Mexico 1, South Africa 0.
So far, it has been a game in which Mexico really should have done a little bit more with some of the territory they've had, and they've allowed South Africa to grow into the game. The altitude in the Azteca Stadium, almost 2,000 metres, hasn't affected the South African players. As Nigel mentioned, the majority of them playing their football in Johannesburg, which is about 1,750 metres in terms of altitude. And they've looked fairly comfortable, South Africa, albeit in those early exchanges, a little bit shaky. And Scott Minto, that is what led to the opening goal, because Mexico came straight out of the traps. They were looking to impose themselves, and Julian Quinones managed to seize on a poor pass from Williams in the South Africa goal out to his centre-back Sithole, and actually added to his end-of-the-season exploits. He scored a hat-trick on the final day of the Saudi Pro League season to snatch the golden boot away from both Ivan Toney and Cristiano Ronaldo, and made no mistake on this occasion.
Had to be in front of those two, is it? 33 goals in 31 games. You can see that not only is he a good finisher, but actually is a little bit of a selfish finisher. But there's been a couple of times where he could have passed it, he wanted to shoot himself. But yeah, honestly, I look at South Africa and I think first 15 minutes, you know you're going to be under pressure. You also know you're going to be nervous. You're going to be in this kind of atmosphere with these kind of conditions. Passionate Mexicans who are desperate for their team to win. Just don't make any silly mistakes. And Williams had just made a really good save. And you know what, Hugh, when you're the goalkeeper and you're looking up and you can see the whole picture, it doesn't matter if someone's screaming at you to receive the ball. You can see if someone's close to him. And Sithole wanted it clearly, but unless he gave it straight back, it was always going to be in trouble. And for South Africa to not be particularly great in the first half and yet only be 1-0 down, and that goal to be a mistake, really an unforced error from them, I think they'll be really disappointed with that. Look, Mexico deserved to be ahead. They could have been two hitting the post as well, but fair play to Quinones, because once he got the ball, he only had one thing in his mind: get half a yard and hammer it as much as you can. And once you're in the box, even though it went for the keeper's legs, he couldn't stop it.
Some of the stats make it look like real dominance from Mexico. 10 shots to only 2 for South Africa, but only 2 on target from the Mexicans and 1 on target from South Africa. Mexico have had 57% possession, but actually when you look at the expected goals, it's 0.66 for Mexico, 0.06 for South Africa. They haven't managed to build on that early advantage, Mexico. Why do you think that is?
No, they haven't. I think sometimes there's so much pent-up sort of pressure. You know, let's not forget, this is not about waking up this morning and suddenly, we got a World Cup game in our own country. This has not just been going on for weeks, months. This has been going on for years, the build-up to it. So suddenly you're out, you're like a coiled spring. First 15 minutes and you bang, within 10 minutes you're 1-0 up. And I wonder whether there's a little part of them just kind of just went from 5th gear to 4th gear. And South Africa perhaps realised actually they are okay in these type of conditions, and against this team as well, perhaps keeping the ball a little bit better. You're right, in terms of possession, at one point it was in the early 20s for South Africa. They weren't even keeping it, let alone having a shot on or off target. But once they started to keep the ball a little bit better, certainly in midfield, I think the front two have been poor. I think Foster and Reyners has run round a lot. Foster, we know, is a better player than what we're seeing in the first half, because we've seen that in the Premier League, but he hasn't been able to keep hold of the ball. And when you're playing a 5-3-2 formation, especially if that 5 is a 5 and the wing backs are not able to push forward, when the ball goes to the front centre forwards, they need to be able to hold the ball up better for those wing backs to get further up the pitch, and that's not what's happened. But I do think, look, in terms of had a couple of extra shots, you said about 10 attempts, that 2 shots on target, that post doesn't count as a shot on target. I think Mexico have been by far on the way the better side, but for that reason South Africa will be delighted they're only 1 goal behind.
We shall see if they can level things up. Big 45 minutes on the way for them. The hosts in early ecstasy, but they haven't managed to add to their advantage. At the break, live here on TalkSport, the opening game of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. It is Mexico 1, South Africa 0.
World Cup Game Day live on TalkSport. Brought to you by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Here for it. Book now at enterprise.co.uk.
McDonald's are making their appearance at the FIFA World Cup. They've got a formidable lineup for the FIFA World Cup meal. But who will you pick to lead the line? Big Mac or Chicken McNuggets? Alongside them, Beckham, Henry, Ronaldinho all make their debuts on legendary player cups. The stage is set. Score one of 6 legendary cups with the FIFA World Cup meal. Match ready for adults. Only at McDonald's.
Until the 13th of July from 11 a.m. Meal includes carbonated drink, side, and 1 collectible allocated randomly. While stocks last. Drink upgrade fees apply.
Massive news from Bet.
Ordinary at Bet365. New and eligible customers only. T's and C's and restrictions apply. 18 plus. Please play responsibly. Visit gambleaware.org.
Somewhere, overlooking the Med, there's a bar with no sign out front. The kind of place where you could all sit for hours, watch the sea on the horizon and football on the telly. This summer, find the beautiful game in beautiful places with O2, the only major network that lets everyone roam freely in the EU. Up to 25 gig. O2, essential for living.
Bolt-on required if limit exceeded. Terms apply. See odo.co.uk/terms.
It's the biggest football tournament ever this summer and the Sun are World Cup for it. Are you? Are you up for following midnight kickoffs during midnight feeds? And in-depth analysis wherever you are. Are you up for expert takes that you can pass off as your own?
Mate, your knowledge of Curaçao's midfield is unsurpassed.
Are you up for the biggest World Cup ever, all in one place? Get the Sun app for the latest updates, reports and analysis round the clock. The Sun, we're World Cup for it.
Mate, love your Tommy Hilfiger shirt. Really brings out your blue eyes. Said no man in history ever. Guys aren't great at complimenting each other, but Giacomo and me, Joe Marler, want to talk about a secret look all men know. The eyebrows go up, the mouth turns upside down, then the head does that subtle nod. It's the nod that says nice. It seems small, but it's huge. Shop nod-worthy styles and brands at giacomo.co.uk and choose your way to pay.
When you're facing a serious snack dilemma, Tesco Whoosh has you covered. Dave, we're out of peanuts. We hear you, footy fan. Your Whoosh driver is already on it, delivering anything you need from Tesco from as little as 20 minutes. Because no team player can support from the sofa without nibbly bits. Tesco Whoosh, for when you seriously need groceries fast. Fees apply. Delivery times range from 20 to 60 minutes. Selected areas only. Pricing specific to Whoosh. See tesco.com/whoosh.
Here at the Money Supermarket Training Academy, we're training our recruits to save people money on their car insurance. But that's not all. Here comes one now. Let's put them to the test. What do we do for our customers on top of saving them money on their car insurance?
We give them a £15 reward.
And?
When they keep on switching with us, they get more and more rewards.
Very good. Scarily impressive.
Money Supermarket, where better off begins. Download the app today. Rewards include prepaid MasterCard, qualifying purchase with logged in account, 18 plus UK only. See site for T's and C's.
World Cup Game Day live on TalkSport. Brought to you by Burger King Burger Buddies. The Whopper, Big King and Barbecue Steakhouse burgers are now available in a snackable 3 and 9 box at Burger King. Don't be the one to miss out and order now.
Every flick, every foul, every free kick.
Dynamic and dazzling.
World Cup Game Day live on TalkSport.
Y retiembla en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón. Y retiembla en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón.
It seems everybody inside the stadium is wearing a green shirt in support of Mexico. It is Mexico who will get the game underway. It is the biggest World Cup ever.
We can just sit back, get the popcorn and enjoy it.
Now they've given the ball away on the edge of their own penalty area, and it's fired in by Canóñez. And Mexico have the first goal of the 2026 World Cup. And it's Julian Canóñez when it's lift off for Mexico.
start for Mexico, but what a mistake from South Africa.
You're listening to World Cup Game Day Live here on TalkSport. I'm Hugh Wisnencroft. At the break in the tournament opener, it is the home side Mexico using all of those home comforts to their advantage. A 9th minute strike from Julian Quinones, the difference at the Estadio Azteca. But South Africa have grown into the game. Their hosts are going to have to step things up if they're going to seal the win. The second half coming up very shortly here on TalkSport. Let's take a look, though, at the halftime odds with Bet365.
On the ball on TalkSport with Bet365. This summer, Bet365 are bringing you more offers than ever before. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
So Mexico leading South Africa by a goal to nil. Right now with Bet365, you can get a Mexico win at 1-9 on South Africa to come back and win 33-1. Unbelievable. Whilst the draw price at 13-2. There's a couple of goal scorer prices to keep an eye on for the second half as well. Raul Jimenez has had a couple of sighters already. To score any time is 11-4. And if you fancy South Africa striker Lyle Foster to get on the score sheet at any time, that is priced at 8-1. Those the halftime odds with Bet365 bring you more offers than ever before this summer. It's 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
On the ball on TalkSport with Bet365, making this summer even bigger with our brand new Matchday Reveal. Available every single match day. New and eligible customers. T's and C's apply. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
Just to let you know, in Rugby League Super League at the break, St Helens 6, Warrington 6. Remember, live action coming up at 3 a.m. in the World Cup here on TalkSport. We'll bring you South Korea against Czechia. The United States get their World Cup underway on Saturday at 2 a.m. start for the United States against Paraguay. Let's speak to Ben Jacobs, TalkSports reporter, who's out in California at the moment following the US national team. Good evening.
Good evening, Hugh. I was going to say good afternoon because it's only 1 o'clock here. How are you doing?
Very well indeed. Thank you for joining us. You've just sat down with Andrew Giuliani. He's the executive director of the White House Task Force for the World Cup. It's an exclusive interview. It's going to be available on TalkSport.com and our social channels very shortly indeed. What was the thrust of the conversation, Ben?
Yeah, so this is available on YouTube already and throughout our on-air output. Andrew Giuliani, Executive Director of the White House Task Force for the 2026 World Cup. I asked him about a number of hot topics. Iran relocating to Mexico as their training base. Giuliani said he's trying to avoid Iran against America as a game in the knockout stage, which is possible if the UN's men's national team do not win their group. Of course, we grilled him on Omar Artan, the Somalian referee and highly regarded FIFA official who was denied entry into the US. Giuliani said that he had been speaking, quote, to bad actors and that the full story would become available after the World Cup was over. So more to follow on that, and hopefully we're going to get to speak to Giuliani throughout the tournament as well. Ticket prices with another hot topic. He pointed to the fact that FIFA are the ones setting those prices, not anybody connected to the US government. And then in addition, I was able to ask him about security, and drones are in full force trying to make sure that this World Cup is secure. And Los Angeles is, of course, a bigger challenge than most. I think many big cities are, but Los Angeles in particular, because the UN's men's national team play 2 games here, and Iran have got 2 games against New Zealand, their opener, which will be taking place shortly after the US men's national team begin against Paraguay. So it's going to be a big week ahead, and I think a lot of political talk, particularly around the hot topic of Iran, who are going to have to fly in much closer to the game than they would like, play that match and then fly out. And were they to lose that game against New Zealand, where their favourites are to win, you may get a scenario where Iran starts speaking to the media and start pointing to the fact that the White House have ultimately disrupted their World Cup preparations.
Ben, thank you very much indeed. Remember, Ben has spoken to Andrew Giuliani. He's the Executive Director of the White House Task Force for the World Cup. Really interesting, exclusive interview. You'll find it at TalkSport.com and on our social channels very shortly indeed. And a reminder, a little bit of breaking news from earlier on this evening. If you missed it, Jose Mourinho is moving to Real Madrid. He signed a 3-year contract to become their new manager. I'm sure there'll be plenty of chat about that a little bit later on the sports bar as well. In the meantime, big second half in front of us. We're waiting for the Mexican team to come out. Scott Minto, part of your commentary team here on Talk Sport. Are you expecting another quick start in this second half, just like the first, from the Mexicans?
Yeah, I am, Hugh, because, you know, the second half of that first half didn't go quite how they wanted it to go. Look, you know, South Africa didn't really show enough going forward in terms of, you know, testing Mexico's goal. But, you know, Raul Rangel did make that one mistake where I think you or I could have caught it, to be honest with you. So he hasn't been put under pressure, but absolutely, I think the start this second half, I would expect a similar start to the first half. If they get that second goal, then they'll go on and win this pretty easily. If they don't, it could get nervy for the Mexicans.
The Azteca Stadium, an incredible sight, looks absolutely sensational. Packed to the rafters, almost 85,000 fans in the stadium, most of them of a Mexican persuasion. Those home fans want all 3 points for this opening game. I'll leave you for the second half alongside the Chelsea FA Cup winner Scott Minto and TalkSport's Nigel Adderley.
Thank you, Hugh. And South Africa will get the second half underway, wearing all yellow, defending the goal away to our left, trailing Mexico by a 1-0. Mexico in their famous green shirts, white shorts and red socks. El Tri against Bafana. And it's the co-hosts who lead by a 0-0 at the moment. A reminder of the two teams again. Mexico, Rangel in goal, Reyes, Montes, Vasquez and Gallardo, the back four. Lira, the holding midfielder behind Alvarado, Gutierrez, Fidalgo and the goal scorer Quinones, with Jimenez leading the attack. And it's given away again by South Africa, deep inside their own penalty area. What on earth were they doing there? In the end, Ocon will turn and clear before the rebound is fired over the top by Gutierrez. South Africa trying to play out again from inside their own 6-yard area, and it was given away to Lira. He tried to find Quinones, and it was nearly 2-0.
Well, it's Williams, the experience of the goalkeeper. And yet he's playing it. It's an even crazier ball than it was that led to the first goal in the first half. Just why are you doing that when someone's so close to you and they could just lose it and suddenly there could be an attack? And actually Mexico would be really disappointed they didn't get a shot on target in the end.
South Africa look to respond with Mudau down the right-hand side in towards Reyners, but it's cut out by Quinones. And now Mexico will try and break with Fidalgo forward towards Quinones again, but the ball just evading his grasp, and it's all the way through to Ronwen Williams, the South African goalkeeper. He's behind a back three of Sabisi, Ocon and Mbukazi, with Mudau and Madiba the wing backs, Mokoena, Sitole and Adams in midfield, with Reyners and Foster in attack.
Honestly, Nigel, you know, he's your experience, he's your captain. He's 34 years of age. You know, he plays for one of the biggest clubs in South Africa, and he's won the South African Champions League, and yet he's playing like he's a 19-year-old and just doesn't know when to go long and sensing danger. Cannot afford to go 2-0 down. 2-0 down, for me, the game is over. 1-0, still very much in it, and a point would be an amazing result.
Now Quinones stepping away from the challenge, and he goes for goal from 45 yards out. He nutmegs Sitole close to the halfway line, then carried it forward and thought, why not? Hit it right-footed, but it was a comfortable save for Williams.
You know, he scored that hat-trick in the last game in the Saudi to go ahead of Ivan Toney and Cristiano Ronaldo. Do you think he had about 18 chances, or he had about 18 shots just himself? He's 50 yards out there. He's trying to do a David Beckham to dink it, well, not even dink it, having to use a 4-iron to get it over the keeper, when actually he could have played in Raul Jimenez.
Now Alvarado for Mexico, midway inside the South African half, on the far side there right, but he's closed down quickly by Mbukazi. And the 20-year-old has been one of the standout performers for South Africa so far, and Madiba will go all the way back to Williams. It was thought that Quinones would be the second striker in the shadow of Matteo Retegui at Al Qadsiya this season when they signed him from Italian football, but he doesn't get too many chances, but his shot to goal ratio is very, very good, and Everyone thought Ivan Toney had won the Golden Boot on the final evening, and then Canogne scored a hat-trick and took it from him.
Well, he's certainly confident, and what you would say is he's the match winner at the moment. And I don't mind that. I don't mind, although I do think in that particular instant, what are the chances of you scoring from there versus possibly playing in Jimenez?
Now a high ball forward, picking out Gutierrez, who could be in behind. He goes down on the edge of the penalty area, and the referee has given a free kick. And what does he do here for the challenge? It's a red card, and South Africa are down to 10 men. A terrible start to the half for them once again, and it's Yaya Sithole, the midfielder, who takes the long, lonely walk. He tried to track the run of Gutierrez into the penalty area, pulled him down right on the edge of the box, and South Africa a goal down, and now a man down as well.
Well, fair play to Gutierrez. First of all, I'm not quite sure why South Africa are playing such a high line, and then Gutierrez knows that Sithole's running alongside him, or he's just a little bit behind him, so then he gets his body in front of him, and the way that Sithole's running, he has to literally stop or he's going to make contact, and doesn't make any contact with the ball. He brings Gutierrez down. He's just outside the box, but it's a definite red card.
The first red card of this World Cup, and it's Yaya Sithole, one of the European-based players for South Africa. He was relegated in the Portuguese league this season, and there are so many contenders over this free kick for Mexico. Strangely, Canogne isn't one of them, but Raul Jimenez will surely fancy this. Inches outside the penalty area in a central area.
Yeah, there's people looking at him, talking to him. He grabbed the ball, nodding, shaking his head. He's put it down. It's literally inches just over the 18-yard line. And these ones are very difficult to get up and over the wall. Sometimes it's best just to try and hammer it as quickly as possible. And the way he's standing, it looks like he's going to come from the side, but as I say, to get it up and over, very difficult thing. Maybe he'll just go goalkeeper side.
45 international goals for Raul Jimenez, and he's over this free kick for Mexico here, and he'll whip it around the wall, right-footed into the wall, bounces out to Gutierrez, and now it's fired in by Gallardo, off balance on the left, and it slices high over the top.
Yeah, he went goalkeeper side, but fair play to the South Africans. They didn't just have a five-man wall, they stuck an extra few people in there as well, which meant that would have had to have maybe just gone through players, and they hit one of them straight on the chest. And because they got 7 or 8 in line, very, very difficult thing to do.
And it was Ingram Reyners who it struck, and it was high on the arm. I think there may have been a very brief check for VAR, but play was quickly waved on.
Yeah, but the bottom line is no goal, but South Africa down to 10 now.
And they've lost the player at the heart of their midfield, and Mexico overrunning them here. Brian Gutierrez again, but it's a really good challenge by Mudau, again sliding in. Had to time that correctly and did, and it will be a throw into Mexico on this near side.
He certainly did. I'll tell you what, it's one of those tackles where it's just inside the box as well. It would have been a definite penalty. He's really impressed me, Mudau, the way he's tried to bomb on as much as he possibly can, despite how difficult it's been defensively.
Corner kick for Mexico on this near side. Roberto Alvarado will take it, whips it in towards the edge of the 6-yard area, but it's headed away by Madiba. And then safety first from Lira, just to hammer the ball into the crowd. Javier Aguirre, once again, the Mexican coach, is coming up with all sorts of semaphore on the edge of the technical area to attract the attention of somebody. But his team still lead, and now playing 10 men, they've got the opportunity to really push on and make this a comfortable victory in the opening match of the World Cup. And as you were saying right at the start of the game, 3 points on the board, and that's probably enough to get through.
Yeah, it is, and it is quite an open group, but I just feel this group is there for, actually you could say the same maybe even for Canada and the USA, but certainly for these particular hosts, Mexico, to actually go on and win the group.
3 points, yes, of course, you just want to qualify, but actually, if Mexico are to go really deep in, we know that the winners of this group will play in Mexico for both the round of 16 and the round of 32 and the last 16. So very important, one, to win this group, win this game, but also two, they need a win if they can possibly get it, and I think they will.
Alvarado on the far side, just unable to keep a raking diagonal ball in play from the very impressive Eric Lerda, one of 6 home-based players in this Mexican team, which is a high proportion compared to previous years. They've got Cesar Montes from Lokomotiv Moscow, Johan Vasquez, his central defensive partner from Genoa in Italy, Fidalgo from Betis in Spain, and Jimenez now of Wolves, and Quinones of Algeciras. So Javier Aguirre is making the most of the talents wherever he can find them. 54 minutes played here on TalkSport, the opening game of the World Cup. And we've got the World Cup Sports Bar with Rory Jennings and Dean Saunders coming up at the end of this game, and you can have your say as well on the opening match of the World Cup and what's to come over the next couple of days and couple of hours, with South Korea meeting the Czech Republic at 3 as South Africa have an opportunity here. It was fired in from the edge of the penalty area by Madiba, gathered at the second attempt by Rangel, but his handling was not convincing.
I tell you what, in this type of these conditions with the altitude, the ball does deviate and go left and right, and Madiba got a really good strike on it, but it's the second time now Rangel has just kind of fumbled his way to it. I'm not sure that would have happened with Ochoa. I'm just sort of thinking, look, everything's geared up for Mexico to go and get the 3 points, but the scoreline says 1-0, which means that just a moment like that and a mistake from the keeper or a set piece, and suddenly they're back in the game.
The first choice goalkeeper, Luis Angel Maragon, tore his Achilles in March, which is why he's not in the team, and there's been a bit of discussion about who will be the goalkeeper, as Lyle Foster has been taken off here for South Africa, and that's because of the red card, and Talente Umbatha of Orlando Pirates comes on. He's a central defender, and he will basically take the position at the base of midfield, and now it will be Ingram Reyners very much on his own in attack.
Well, I think that is Hugo Bruce, not admitting defeat, but what I would say is it maybe not the worst result in the world, because we talked about that, one win, you can still get through. In the other 2 games that perhaps you don't get the right results, don't lose by more than 1 goal. And that's what I think he's probably thinking.
Jimenez looking to try and break forward here, but it's defended well by Adams, but South Africa again have given the ball away and conceded a free kick on the edge of their area. Lira, the player who was caught on the right corner, and it was a silly challenge from Aubrey Madiba, coming in from behind, had no chance of winning the ball, and this would suit a number of players here with a left foot.
Yeah, you can't afford to give away silly tackles like that when you're 1 man down, 1-0 down. Don't give the opposition any chance of putting the ball in a really difficult place, as you say. The sort of in-swinging free kick, it really does favour the left footer here.
Vasquez and Montes are both forward, and the pair, Gutierrez and Alvarado, have been over these free kicks in this sort of position for much of the game so far. Jimenez and Quinones wait inside the area. It's flighted in towards Reyes, high to the far post, and shaping for the header was Vasquez, but Ocon does well to just lift the header away. And South Africa play it long downfield, and credit to Reyners. A game chase from him, but he was never going to get there.
Yeah, absolutely, and it wasn't the best of free kicks from Gutierrez, was it? We talked about maybe an in-swinging left footer where, if it's whipped in with pace, you just need the slightest of touches, and the keeper's struggling with the out-swinging one. Sometimes if it's not in the right place, then you need someone to get on it to head it with pace, power and accuracy. A very difficult thing to do. Waste of a free kick.
Alvarado with a mazy dribble now for Mexico. Down the right-hand side, leading by a goal to nil here on TalkSport with 58 minutes played. The goal a long time ago, early on from Julian Quinones. And Mexico have, in the main, been on top. They've created the better opportunities. Quinones also hitting a post. And you're listening to World Cup Game Day Live on TalkSport, brought to you by Burger King Burger Buddies. Total tournament satisfaction delivered by the experts. Order now on the BK app. As Fidalgo comes forward now for Mexico. Quinones curls a high ball towards the far post, and he was looking for the run of Alvarado, who was unmarked at the far post, but it's just beyond him and behind for a goal kick.
Yes, he was unmarked. It was a really good run from Alvarado at the far post, and with Quinones, it was a difficult ball, but if he was able to find him there, 30-40 yard crossfield pass, and it would have been inside the box. Could have even just have volleyed it with his side foot, just get it on target, and keeper would have had no chance there. So an opportunity there to make it 2-0, but it's still 1.
First red card, by the way, in an opening game at the World Cup since Marco Echeverri of Bolivia against Germany back in USA 1994. Of course, we used to have the situation where the reigning champions would play in the first game, but now it goes down to the host or the co-host. And Qatar, the first host nation to lose the opening game 4 years ago, and they were really poor against Ecuador. But they're here at the World Cup, and they'll be having another go. 8 o'clock on Saturday night, they'll be meeting Switzerland here on TalkSport. South Africa get a free kick now for the challenge by Alvarado on Madiba, close to halfway, and rain is starting to fall inside the Azteca Stadium, which will be, I'm sure, welcomed by both sets of players as South Africa make another change. Themba Zwane, 36 years of age, one of the Mamelodi Sundowns players, comes on to win his 55th cap. 9 South African titles and 2 African Champions Leagues. His experience may be required now as he comes on to play just behind Ingram Reyners. South Africa need a break here, and at the moment it's difficult to see how it's going to come.
Yeah, Zwane's almost pushed up alongside Reyners, isn't he? Well, Al Foster was playing. It's not just kind of dropping off and playing behind him. You'd expect him to drop off at times, but at the moment he's trying to press high. Again, I think it's probably Bruce realising, actually, yes, we've only got 10 men, but we struggled with 2 strikers, let alone 1 now, so Zwane will certainly look to be helping Reyners for sure.
Well, South Africa, a team who arrived late due to visa issues. And really, they started this game late, conceding early on. They've had 1 or 2 moments, but Mexico in control. But you can hear the whistles and 1 or 2 boos from the home supporters, not happy at the sedentary pace of Mexico so far in the second half. And now Quinones has challenged Mudown. It will be a free kick for South Africa on the halfway line, and we have heard the Mexican supporters don't often like the approach of Javier Aguirre. It can be a bit negative at times, and of course they lead 1-0 in the opening game of the World Cup, so he'll be thinking just take the points and move on. And they're about to make a change. Luis Chavez of Dynamo Moscow will be coming on.
Yeah, look, I think with it being the first game, if it ends up 1-0, fine. You know, that's ultimately what you want. Of course, you'd love a 2-3, 4-0 if possible. I just think from a Mexican fan's point of view, they've got the early goal, they've hit the post, They're playing a team that, you know, is not highly ranked and hasn't been in the World Cup since 2010, and that was because they were hosts, haven't qualified since 2002. They've gone down to 10 men. So just play with a little bit more pace. And they haven't done that for me in the second half, certainly since South Africa have gone down to 10 men.
And earlier on TalkSport, we broke the news of Jose Mourinho's return to Real Madrid as their new manager on a 3-year contract, and they may be about to make their first signing under Mourinho. TalkSport understands Real Madrid